Can you just give me a little intro about you, where you're working at right now, kind of like how you started in this business?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Nick, obviously. I'm a manager primarily, music manager. I'm a partner and an EVP at a company called Teamwork, um, where again, I'm an artist manager, so I represent, I would say anywhere from like 5 to 6 clients directly. And yeah, I manage Dillon Francis, Ariel Rechtshaid, who's a producer, couple developing artists, a folk Americana group named the Milk Carton Kids, and an electronic producer out of the UK named Tourist.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And how I started, I interned at Columbia Records in the A&R department in 2006, 7, and maybe 2005 I started. But yeah, I started as an intern at Columbia. I turned it into like an A&R consultancy scout, what they call like kind of like, you get paid like $100 a week to like find bands for the record label. And so I was doing that. And through kind of that experience, I learned that like management was pretty interesting. And then I got to meet managers through trying to sign bands. And I kind of realized it was something I was interested in. So I think I was working there at Columbia and then started to work with a manager back in Boston because I needed to go back and finish. This is all when I was in college.
Right.
Need to finish school. And at that same time, MGMT was a band that we had signed to Columbia and needed a new manager. So before their first album came out, myself and this person, Mark, who I had started working for, who's one of my mentors, we ultimately managed the band for I was involved for six years. Those guys still manage him. And then kind of in that time, I realized I wanted to kind of grow what I wanted to do as a manager. And two of my friends had started a management company, which is Teamwork. And that was like 8 years ago now. So that's kind of a little bit of kind of what I'm doing now and where I came from.
That's awesome. Actually, MGMT, like they're doing super well like on TikTok right now. And the only reason why I know
Little Dark Age is blowing up.
Yeah, exactly. Like all their songs are going like viral on TikTok. So that's why I'm like, oh wow. Like when you said that, I was like, oh, that's cool.
Did you know about them before you saw it on TikTok?
Yeah. So like I kind of knew a little bit about them. I never was like super into them though. But then
how old are you, by the way?
I'm 21.
Got it.
I'm gonna be 22 in like a week. So
nice.
Yeah. But yeah, they've been blowing up on TikTok. So I'm like, oh, I'm like starting to get like into their stuff. So it's really cool.
Fun.
So tell me a little more about, I know you kind of mentioned it before a little bit, but tell me a little more about like Teamwork. Like was this something that you yourself like partnered up with other people to start, or did you kind of like get up on did you get on into the team?
Yeah, I joined the team like a year into Teamwork existing. So I was probably like, first, 4 people here, 4 or 5 people here.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is like a common misconception about working in the industry, do you think? That maybe some people think that the industry is a certain way, but what would you say? Like kind of like debunk a common misconception. It's kind of a loaded question, I know, but
yeah, I mean, look, I think it's like anything in the entertainment world. I think it always comes with a level of like, fantasy a little bit. Like it's probably over sensationalized a little bit, but I don't know. Look, it is all that look, I think at the end of the day, it takes a lot of like hard work and really like passion for the craft and for the information. And, I don't think it's as fly by night as some people might make it out to be potentially. Yeah, I guess that's it. I mean, it's like any, I guess it's like anything, but yeah, it's, I think in comparison to like being in finance or being a lawyer, I think it sometimes has a misconception, but I think that's probably the entertainment business as a whole. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of agree with you on that. I think like a lot of people think it's all like glitz and glam, and sometimes it's just I'm not even in the industry yet, but I'm a music industry student. So we're like learning a lot about that stuff. A lot of my professors have been in the industry. They've worked at like record labels and stuff. And just from what they've said, it's not all fun and games all the time, like a lot of people think, and like you said, it's like hard work. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
think what's interesting about the entertainment business in general is like you don't really need that many credentials. Like you can go to school for it, but you don't
right,
have to go to school for
right,
it. So I think, you know, there's moments where I think, and it's also a creative business, so a lot of it's very like subjective, right? A lot of
right.
people building off of their taste and experience. So, but look, I think that at the end of the day, like, there's still, I think what's interesting about our business, and I would say this for probably all the entertainment business, it's like a very it's a fast evolving business. So it's kind of hard to put in a book. I think that
Right.
experience teaches you a lot about like human psychology and how business just works in general and how things get done and how to communicate, because at the end of the day it is it's a business that I think really relies on communication and networking and relationships,
Mhm.
as much as it does creativity and luck and all that shit. So I think it's yeah.
Nice. Actually, I kind of want to talk to you about, because you said about evolving and stuff with this whole COVID-19 thing. You work with a lot of DJs, producers, and stuff like that. Like, where do you see? Because I know all about like, I don't really listen to that kind of music, but my sister is like a huge like rager. Like, she loves DJs and stuff like that, and she loves going out and partying. She's 26. So a big problem for her is like she misses going to shows like that, having a huge big party all the time and stuff. So how do you think this is going to affect that aspect of this?
I mean, I think that, we've been in this 10 months now.
Right.
I think a couple of things. I think the live music experience, I think the demand's going to be there when we're back, like
Right.
for whatever genre you're into or experience, whether that's going to the movies or going to a symphony, or like you're going to want that as part of your life again. I think that's been pretty confidently like projected. I don't think anyone's like, I don't never need to go to a show again.
Right.
I
Exactly.
think it reinforced people really want that experience and the social side of it, and the escape and the entertainment side of it. I think what we learned is also there's like technology that's been around for a few years that can be incorporated into like how you do marketing and how you reach your fans and digital live streaming, and just it doesn't have to just be one or the other. I think there's a
Right.
way to incorporate some elements of the live stream or just the digital experience as part of the long term, because I think it's a good way to balance some of the challenges of like going on the road and touring all the time. Like, so yeah, so I think the demand is there. I think it's just people are learning how to like navigate it in the meantime. I think what's interesting is I think the psychology of how people have consumed music in the pandemic has also just fluctuated quite a bit. I think especially with the election the last couple of weeks, like people were really consumed by news, and also I think people, and I think the demographic that's really important for music, just youth culture in general, like TikTok's a really big part of like how you find out about music, but also just have fun and escape and laugh and communicate. I think in a weird way, like Instagram is very much like Facebook now. It's kind of
Yeah.
like old.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably because it's become like over marketed and it's not as intimate, and TikTok is like pretty fun and intimate, and like people can really be themselves. So I'm assuming you use TikTok.
Oh yeah. I love TikTok.
So yeah, I think live shows, I don't see them changing. I think that you need to be smart of what you're putting out there, and I think people are going to want intimate experiences in a different way. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, did you go to shows in college?
Yeah, I've been to, the thing with me, it's like a lot of the time I was broke. So it's kind of hard to go to shows when you're broke, but I would go to like local shows. And then once in a while, me and my boyfriend would go out to, we went last time, the last concert we saw was in Philly, and it was Rex Orange County. And it was at the Fillmore. And Before that,
Do you generally find that shows that you want to see are too expensive?
yeah, honestly, I think some of them are. I mean, it depends too. I feel like it obviously depends on the artist, and it also depends on like the venue. Because the Rex Orange County concert actually wasn't, that was probably the cheapest show for like the quality that it was pretty good. It was like $50 for the tickets, but we were like right by the stage on the floor, and it was just kind of, it was nice. I liked that venue. But for example, like I know Madison Square Garden's like a huge venue in a huge place, but like some of the shows are just, to me, they're just overpriced for the seat that I'm getting, you know? So it kind of sucks in that
Let me
way.
ask you a question. If there's like, what show did you want to see at Madison Square Garden where you're like, this is so crazy, I got to pay like $100 to sit in the rafters?
Beyonce, 100%.
Okay. So if there was like a certain tour for Beyonce that was like maybe an album or something, and there was like certain shows where you could like, it's gonna cost me $100 or more because like I gotta take the train and beer or whatever. It's gonna
Yeah.
cost me like $200 or whatever. But there was like a $20 like live stream option with like access. Would you pay to watch a live stream of that certain show like from a big venue like MSG, or would you be like, fuck it, that's not worth it?
For $20, I would pay for the live stream.
And would you want anything with that, like a digital commemorative thing, or you just want access to see what that show looks like live?
Honestly, just because I'm like, if we were talking about Beyonce, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
So like, I wouldn't be that upset if I didn't get anything, but maybe like with the $20, or if it's like 25 or 30, maybe like a CD of the, of the or like a DVD of the concert, like a CD.
Or like a download or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. Like I would do that for like $25. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. To me,
Cool.
because it's like, I live in Jersey, so to go to a show in New York City, like you said, transportation, honestly, it's a huge chunk of my time and money, So I love going to the shows and seeing them, but again, like it's not even just the show itself either. It's just the things around the show also add to like the expense, of that.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, but yeah. So thanks for answering that. That was super interesting. So this is kind of fun. What's the funniest or craziest thing or story that you have while working, like with an artist, or if you were at a venue with an artist? Like, what's the craziest thing that's ever happened that you can tell me?
I have a lot. I don't know. The craziest. Oh my God, I don't even know where to start. In what way? Like what in what kind of crazy?
How
Like
about
crazy in a good way or a bad way, somewhere in between?
like maybe like an oh shit moment? Like something was kind of like, oh shit, like what's gonna happen? Or like maybe something bad's gonna happen. Or like, how did you fix something that could have been like really bad? If you've ever had an experience like that.
I mean, I guess it just varies. I mean, I have everything you can imagine, from like people selling illegal tickets to like gear breaking down 10 seconds before and there's nowhere to get it and it's like a big global showcase, to like, a stage not having the right insurance and the tour manager is wondering what you do. And yeah, I mean, as a manager, you're not always out there. So sometimes you're getting phone calls
Right.
on the road about there's a storm and this is happening. And, I think a lot of it is, especially with like touring, you rely a lot on the people that are on the ground with the artists, which is tour managers and their experience and production managers. And then a lot of it's just, having to really assess all the information and really, make a decision with the artist, or make a decision sometimes without them, because, if something's not safe or doesn't feel like it checks out, it's not going to be a good experience for, the artist or the fan, and it's potentially unsafe, like all those things. But look, everything happens out there, from ticket takers not doing things properly, or there being more security and it taking longer. And, it is a little bit of every night can be something different. I don't think anything is always smooth, that's for sure. But there's also a ton of great moments, like seeing artists perform in front of a lot of people and seeing that connection happen. It's pretty special.
Yeah. So like, what's your opinion? I'm kind of interested. What's your opinion on like, are like managers who are friends with the artist? Like, oh, like let me be your manager. Do you think that's a good thing? Like, if your manager is also your friend, or do you think it should be strictly professional?
I think it depends. I think there's a lot of successful friends of artists that became great managers, and sometimes that shared experience teaches you a lot. I think it's hard not to become friends with your clients because it is really personal. I think we all know where the balance is. Like at the end of the day, there's a responsibility and a job, and our relationship exists because of the professional one.
Mm.
We can also be friends because of that, but you definitely have to like balance that out because it's a business. But yeah, I don't, it depends. There are some friends that are come up as the manager that do terrible work and some of them are great. I think it really just depends, but yeah, it's definitely a balance between, what the relationship is.
So when you're looking for an artist to manage, or like, so I kind of want to put like this interview, I kind of want to gear towards a lot of like my peers and students who want to be managers, who want to get into that. So like, what do you look for in an artist? Like that makes you like, okay, I want to reach out to this person and I want to manage them if they don't reach out to you.
First and foremost, the music. Like what does the music sound like? Do I feel anything for it? Do I feel like I can add value to, you know, taking what they're doing and bringing it to a larger audience? And so for me, it's the music. I think it's then kind of the vision and the story and like what they're trying to like, how they're trying to present themselves to the world and what they're about and what they're trying to say. And then I think it's, yeah, like, am I the right person for this kind of music and this art? And I think at this point in my career, I can probably manage any kind of artist, I would say. But yeah, I think it starts with the music and knowing what I can add to it and also seeing like, do I think this has a place?
Right.
I think a lot of us get behind great music first and foremost, and it starts there.
Right. So how, like in your opinion, I know a lot of people say like the music industry right now is kind of like they don't care about talent. It's more like, oh, how much of a following do you have? Like what's your style like? Like what do you think that's true, or do you think that people still value talent over following?
I mean, look, I think it's like people of your age that have to dictate that. I think there are a lot of labels, and I think the industry in a way like does generate things that like I don't personally like, but have
Right.
become really popular. But I don't know they've become popular because they had a following. I think they've happened to strike a chord, and now they do.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think there's still a level of like it's really hard to market new artists and have the way for a new artist to get through and be heard is just challenging. So yes, if they have a following, I think it makes them more appealing to a record label because that's an immediate audience. I don't
Right.
think it makes it a done deal, but I think everyone is looking for ways to reach people directly, and I think social media and following is like it is a way you can reach people immediately, but that doesn't prevent someone getting signed because they're just great and building it from the ground up. I see
Right.
plenty of it. Yeah, it's just a balance. I think there was an era when you didn't have to have anything because having anything didn't exist. I
Right.
think when you were, you know, Britney Spears, it didn't matter because there was no social media, didn't exist. So it's just
Right.
changed because we have these platforms where, yeah, there is a benchmark. If you have 1 million followers on your own, yeah, you have a great base to talk to. Maybe you don't even need a label at that point, you
Right.
know? But yeah, I think it's yes and no.
Mm. So another question, just because of like you mentioned like, oh, you don't need a label. There's a lot of artists that are shifting to being independent, or they want to start being independent. They don't want to be a part of a huge record label. What's your opinion on that? Like, do you think that, I guess with the digital space too, it's a lot easier for artists to make their own music on their own too, and it's like you said with social media, it's easy to market themselves. So what's your opinion on that? Like, do you really think that an artist needs a big record label now to be successful, or do you think?
It just depends on what your goals are. Like if you're trying to be on the radio, like top 40 radio, and you're like a really pure pop music,
Hmm.
yeah, maybe you need the media and muscle they have at radio. but again, you don't need a label to get radio. You just need to have a plan, and you need to have probably more infrastructure around yourself. But no, I don't think every artist needs a big label or any label. I think you need to have a game plan. I think you still, no matter where you're going, you need to have a game plan.
Right.
Because I think even the big labels aren't doing artist development necessarily.
Right.
Traditionally, that, some of that's changing a little bit. Again, I think it depends on what your goals are and like what you're trying to accomplish, and what do you have figured out.
Okay. So any advice to artists looking for a manager, maybe artists just starting out, or any advice to managers, like starting up managers, like people in college? Like a lot of people in my major, they want to be managers, but I feel like a lot of them don't have that experience yet, or they don't know kind of like what it's really all about. So I just kind of want to know like any advice you have for those kinds of people.
I think for artists trying to find managers, I think it is networking. I think it's going on social media, making sure you're finding these people, you're doing education about who manages who, and trying to do some outreach, trying to put yourself on the, the frontier. I think it's also probably finding yourself into places that are discovery platforms like YouTube playlisting and TikTok profiles and Instagram. Like go to places where you're potentially going to be found by people that are following. Like it's probably understanding like where do managers go to find music, a lot of times it's through lawyers or through professional relationships. A lot of times it's online, I think. And in the other regard, I think if you're a young manager, I think it's trying to identify like, is there talent around you that you can help that's not getting the right look? Understanding how these digital platforms work, understanding what the business is, and that you do have access to like find a distribution company, and then potentially like trying to like intern at a management company or like find managers to talk to that will give you free advice.
Right. So kind of like last kind of question I forgot to ask you before, but like what's a typical day for you? If there is a typical day. Like I know managers, it's like.
Yeah, I would say there isn't one. I think for the most part, it's mainly trying to find time to like really think about new ideas for the artist and really plan and think about strategy. Trying to be as educated as I can be about the industry, but the ecosystem, and like being on these platforms and trying to understand how they work and what user experience is. So, trying to find creative ideas, trying to think about strategy, trying to like, constantly communicate with people in my network and beyond. And, whatever happens in between with the day changes constantly.
Right. Has working, like, I mean, I'm assuming that you've been working from home a lot more now. Has that like affected your workload at all?
I mean, I think I don't think speaks to our industry specifically, but I think I feel slightly more productive because I'm just not traveling as much.
Okay.
But that's good and the bad. I'm seeing less people in person, that has its disadvantages.
Right. So when we're all out of this COVID mess, what is like the first thing, this is kind of just personal, like what's the first thing you want to do?
Gather with a bunch of my friends.
Yeah, seriously. I miss social interaction, but yeah. Okay. I think that's all I have for you.